Oi boys, welcome to another video on the channel. We are back with a little bit of a review. So this week 1 of finals, the first in a long time on paper where the games delivered on the expectation they don't always do, and we're saying that at least on paper this is the most competitive week 1 of finals I've ever seen, and yeah, it delivered. So let's quickly go through the games, give some thoughts and opinions, and at the same time go through our picks. In the first game of the week, the Parramatta Eels fall to the Penrith Panthers in Penrith. We backed the Panthers in this, and that was on the strength of the return of Nathan Cleary and a well-rested main cast. I thought that Parramatta would hang off them for a majority of the game, and they did. They started to let themselves down by making some crucial errors and not getting to their kicks. And in the Battle of the Packs, they got outworked by the Panthers, not to mention Mitchell Moses did go down fairly late in the game as well. So that didn't help matters, but up until that point, Penrith were already on top. They weren't that rusty, and I wouldn't say they really achieved flow state, but they were definitely close. In the end, they end up running away with the game 27 points to 8. They get a well-deserved and a well-needed week off. In the past, you could have made the case that the week off could somewhat hinder a team's momentum, but with how the game's being played these days, the pace and intensity is insane, and that week off is crucial. The second game of the week, the Melbourne Storm took on the Canberra Raiders in Melbourne, and this was the upset of the week. Heading into this game, I picked the Storm to be too classy for the Canberra Raiders, especially with the players they had in key positions compared to the Green Machine. And well, in typical Melbourne Storm fashion, the game was theirs to lose in my opinion, because Munster played decent, Harry Grant played out of his skin, Brandon Smith and Jerome Hughes also, who made his return, had decent games as well. Speaking of Jerome Hughes, there was a crucial moment where he decided to stay down after feeling a bit of high contact in an attempted tackle, and at the time I thought it was an interesting decision of his to make, because usually players just brush it off and keep it moving. Well, let me not say usually, they used to. Nowadays, if players feel any contact on their head, they fish for penalties, which I absolutely despise. In the context of the game, Melbourne were down by 2 points. It was the 50th minute. They get to the desired penalty. Hughes then has to leave the field for an HIA. That's 15 minutes, where you will be without one of your key players. Not only did that happen, but they missed the kick. I'm not saying that's the reason they lost. For one, that would be disrespectful to the performance of the Canberra Raiders. It was just an interesting moment that stood out for me. With all that being said, we did say that if Canberra would get the win, it would literally be on the shoulders of their forward pack. And I guess it was somewhat true to an extent. Without the go forward of Josh Papali'i and Joseph Tapine, your Jack Whitens and your Jamal Fogartys don't get their opportunities. These lads really took it to that Melbourne Storm pack. Elliot Whitehead and Hudson Young as well, working on the back of those two, leading the way. It was impressive, as was the performance of Jamal Fogarty, who you can't help but feel happy for after being discarded by the Gold Coast Titans. I absolutely loved seeing him thrive in the Canberra colours. In the third game of the week, also my game of the round, the North Queensland Cowboys on the road take down the Cronulla Sharks. They played past extra time and went into golden point extra time with a man that lives in the clutch, Valentine Holmes, sinks a 40-meter drop goal. So while making the preview video, I had my mind set on Cronulla getting the win at home, but as we're going through the team lists and putting a few things into perspective, you know, the big thing was that they'll be at full strength. Dearden wasn't fresh back from injury. He had a game to warm up last week. They had Ruben Cotter, they had Valentine Holmes in the centres. I felt like those players would be the difference, or would play a part in securing a close win, and that somewhat was the case. Said players had massive games. Val actually won them the game. I swear bro, when it comes to big game players, that guy's top of the list. Also, the evolution of Jason Taumololo has been a fun one to witness. I'm not gonna lie, I thought that maybe his future was in the front row, because he did one thing really bloody well, and that was eat meters. But there's no denying that the man has been working on other aspects of his game to make him more dynamic. Like I said, he's evolving. He's gone from a power running, marauding, one-dimensional type of player to a genuine, modern, somewhat ball-playing 13. With his running game that he can just pull out whenever he wants, that's scary. The evolution of Reece Robson has been dope to watch. Peta Hiku, I mean, pretty much the evolution of the Cowboys in general this whole season has been fun, as has the Cronulla Sharks. Nico Hines, man, not much else he could do. He literally emptied the clip on the Cowboys. And for the final game, week 1 of finals, the South Sydney Rabbitohs eliminates the Sydney Roosters 30 points to 14. Such a weird weird game. Don't get me wrong, there was plenty of entertainment. There was also plenty of penalties and plenty of yellow cards. Plenty of stoppages in play. Something like 15 penalties, 7 sin bins. Maybe more than a couple weren't really needed. Sometimes you just gotta let the boys play, you know. That Totola one for sure was an awkward one. But yeah, the biggest turning point, obviously, James Tedesco goes down. Something like the 20th minute. The game was chalked for the Chooks. I think it's somewhat understated the amount of work Tedesco gets through. And it's mostly because he does it on a regular basis. His norm is like career best performances for many others. As for my pick, I did pick the Bunnies to get up. We were questioning whether Cab Murray would be enough of a difference, and he kinda was, you know. Teddy did go down. That was the biggest difference. Our other deciding factors of why we went off the Bunnies, Campbell Graham, Damien Cook, they looked solid. And the two lads that we said would have redeemable games, Latrell Mitchell and Cody Walker, I thought were much better than last week. For the most part, I enjoyed the physicality of the game. And that about wraps up all the action. Week 1 of the NRL Finals 2022. That was just me going through a bunch of notes. Such a bloody good weekend of Rugby League. As for our picks, we got 3 from 4. Tomorrow they drop the team lists. We'll definitely be previewing the round ahead. If you have any thoughts of this past weekend's games, let me know in the comment section down below. As always, if you enjoyed that and would like to see more Rugby League related content, or more content in general, be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you later.